3 mistakes that are commonly made on the twin flame journey and why it's good not to make them. And I think that if you avoid these or transmute these mistakes, it'll be very helpful and you'll notice yourself feeling a lot better. So the first mistake that I think that can be made, and it's quite obvious, is making the practice or the spiritual journey about their form. And what do I mean about this? I mean, like, if you're obsessively trying to manifest, if you're trying to do stuff to get them, if you're in this state of figuring out, if I do this, can I get them in this way? And the problem is that when you're doing that, you're externalizing onto the twin flame. And the whole point about the twin flame journey is that you're returning back to yourself with a capital S, the pure infinite love, the pure bliss, the pure energy of source that exists within you. You are supposed to turn inwards on the twin flame journey, not outwards. So you're not supposed to, be having your thoughts or your mental energy, such as, imagining or projecting onto the form of your twin flame. And this can include like daydreaming heavily about them, doing these intense imaginal scenes of them, or, trying to heal and send loving energy to them. The best thing that you can do is turn inwards, and to turn inwards to source, whether that is through meditation, whether that's through breath work, but turning inwards into this space, with a space within yourself that is love, that is bliss, that is wholeness. And there's a lot of those types of meditations that you can do. I really like doing light meditations or focusing on the space between thoughts, or intertwining both can be helpful, especially for a beginner, starting with imagining yourself as whole, as abundant, as fulfilled, and focusing in on your heart. That is a lot better than focusing outward. That's not going to help. And the second mistake that you can make on the twin flame journey is to get stuck either between detachment or aversion. And what I mean by this is, if you're trying to get away from the twin flame, if you're trying to obsessively not want them and trying to be detached, you're still in the energy of push, because you're still trying to get away from them. You're still making the journey about them, even if it's about avoiding. And of course, the more obvious one is to not get stuck in attachment either, into craving, into yearning, which also ties into the first point, externalizing them, imagining them, trying to get something out of them. The sweet spot really is neutrality, because with neutrality, you're not stuck in either attachment or aversion. You're just neutral. And that happens naturally when you're connecting to source and when you're diving deep into yourself and into the source that is within you. The third mistake that you can make is to drop the inner work too quickly. So what I mean by this, so when you're doing the inner work, when you're doing your practice, you might notice that there's things that are coming into your life, like your twin flame is starting to text more, or your twin flame, the dynamic is becoming easier. But one thing I want to really encourage is to not stop the work right there. You really need to stay dedicated to the practice, and you really need to stay committed to unveiling source within you. Your attention really needs to be there. And especially, it can get harder the longer you go, in the sense of your push energy, which is the fear-based energy that is activated during the twin flame journey, the part of you that is yearning and longing. That part may be very sneakily coming in later stages when you're more advanced and you're more settled into yourself, into source. And it could look like subtly being excited that your twin flame is back in your life, or the connection is deepening, or subtly, increasing the practice or something for a specific outcome or intention of being with your twin. And it can be very subtle and easy to miss. But it's important to always try to keep yourself centered back into the practice is for deepening into pure infinite love, and to bliss, into my own spiritual liberation, into my own spiritual ascension. And the focus is always going to be to that, even if it drifts off, because it's going to drift off. The attention is going to always drift off. But if you can return to that and if you can return to the commitment to self, I kind of think of it as you need to keep turning inwards and inwards into yourself, which is source, and then at some point, naturally, source, infinite love, is going to grab you. So the example that I use is kind of like, right now you're on Earth and you're trying to hit space, and you have to keep pushing and pushing until you get yourself out of the sky, out of the orbit, out of the Earth's orbit. And once you're out of the Earth's orbit, gravity will take care, the anti-gravity will take care of you, and you'll just float into space without effort. And so the whole point of it is space is infinite love, and your practice is trying to go into space. So you need to keep pushing until you get to that place where naturally infinite love takes a hold of you and grasps you. But until then, you really need to be vigilant. And when that happens, naturally you will just start to flow a lot more. But you need to be disciplined and centered into the practice until you get to that point where you hit space. So yeah.